Hi, let's start with a health warning. To appreciate this entanglement presentation, it is advisable to have a basic knowledge of subtle energies, auras and psi lines. This may be obtained from my earlier presentations. Entanglement is usually associated with the quantum world when, say, two electrons emitted from the same atom remain in communication with each other when separated by vast distances. This presentation shows how it is possible for two large physical bodies in the real world to communicate information to each other over considerable distances without any apparent intermediate medium. Since 2008, I have published several papers showing that there are at least 6 different methods for achieving macro entanglement. This presentation selects just one of these 6. The main reason is because it is the closest to classical quantum entanglement. It is the simplest to demonstrate in this presentation. There are 4 factors involved in creating macro entanglement. Let's take each one of these in turn, starting with commonality. One sheet of cheap A4 paper is the basis of this demonstration. This piece of paper, torn in half, is all the commonality required to generate two-body entanglement. All physical objects, or even geometric shapes, possess a 3-dimensional aura that is larger than their physical source. This is illustrated by the orange tint in this slide. For thousands of years, there have been reports of many people who are able to see or detect these auras noetically. I can easily detect and feel such energies, but I cannot see them. Having cut the previous sheet of paper in 2, note that the auras are expanding as the 2 sheets separate. The auras further expand as they separate. When they have expanded by about 30%, they then start interacting. 2 sheets of paper are identified by the letters A and B in this demonstration. Also shown is a consistent location and protocol for measuring the linear increase in size of these 3-dimensional auras. After a critical separation distance that may be up to about 1 meter, there is an automatic creation of subtle energy psi lines and their nodes. These nodes are a different form of subtle energy that seem to keep the psi lines parallel and non-divergent. They also seem to mediate the entanglement and boost it along the way, so there is no diminution of the strength of the information. There are many physical events that affect the dimensions of auras. Pressure is one such physical property. If we now place variable weights only on paper A, the pressure generated becomes entangled with the aura of paper B. The resulting entanglement causes both auras to increase in step, creating a specific mathematical relationship. An example is shown on the next slide. If you're still with us, you obviously want proof. This graph is a summary of several experiments over short and long separation distances. The horizontal axis represents the weights placed on sheet A. There is never a physical weight placed on B. The vertical axis is the size of the aura of the entangled sheets A and B. The experimental error is very low, being about plus or minus 3%. The range of weights used in these experiments was between 0 to nearly 5,000 grams. This produced a 7-fold increase in the auras of both sheets A and B. Please note that the curves for sheets A and B and the XL trend line are closely superimposed. The XL trend line gives a 4-dimensional equation with an unusually high correlation coefficient of almost 100%. As it is also apparent from a previous graph, the weight on sheet A is instantaneously communicated to sheet B, and their increasing auras remain synchronized. Since 2009, I have published several papers based on transits of most of the planets in our solar system. The transits created a 3-body subtle energy alignment beam, which has similar properties to psi lines. These beams peak exactly at the time taken by light from the planet to reach the observer on Earth. This is well before the published time of the transit. Hence, this technique for entanglement using subtle energy psi lines and the 3 bodies in alignment demonstrates instantaneous communication. It is important to emphasize the mind-blowing, unexpected results from the experiments involving Neptune and most of the planets. Not only do they prove that subtle energy communication is not only faster than light, but can be instant. If my average mind can communicate to the edge of our solar system, with appropriate training, so may yours. In the same way, it takes many years to play, say, a musical instrument proficiently, it is the same with subtle energies. It took me about 20 years of experimentation to noetically measure to an accuracy better than 2 millimeters. Once again, the Neptune experiments are sound scientific evidence that consciousness and the mind are part of the structure of the universe. So, more research is needed into how and why the mind interacts with the cosmos. These results strongly suggest that once again, the mind, consciousness, and psi lines are intimately connected to the structure of the universe. Future research is required to find if quantum entanglement has similar psi lines action at a distance. I hope this presentation motivates people to independently confirm and develop my findings, with the eventual goal of understanding how the brain actually achieves all the unbelievable and impossible phenomena in this presentation. Thank you for listening to the many new and counterintuitive concepts. Please visit my website, jeffreykeen.co.uk, which will freely provide much more information, It will also freely allow you to download or have sight of my 58 papers, which have been published over the years, as well as details to my 2 books. There follows a brief selection of supportive charts, tables and graphs without any detailed commentary. This shows when an entanglement psi line was created. It is on the bottom blue line. This is the data for the previous graph. This is only one of many examples that demonstrate that subtle energies are strongly connected to universal constants. This graph illustrates the connection between psi line length and its nodes. This graph shows the connection between node separation distances and psi line length.